Hey, I just got out of bed. And before we start this interview, I wanted to apologize that most of it is going to be like a narration where you see a picture of me and of the person I'm interviewing. This is because the video sadly went out of sync. This happened before in 2019 with somebody else that I interviewed. But back then I just uploaded it the way it is, but it's not the most pleasant viewing experience. So I hope you're still interested in listening to the message that's being shared today. And that is the reason why it's only changes around visually speaking. Now the issue is probably with my computer, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably outdated hardware. Over the years I will have to look into upgrading everything, but for now we're just gonna have to do it like this. So let's begin. Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today I wanted to interview another content creator on YouTube, and he'll be introducing himself in a second, but I just wanted to say that the last time I did this was in 2019. Back then I had 45 subscribers. So now we're almost closing in at 1200. And every time, ever since, I should actually say, is I figured to myself, as I keep growing, I wanted to feature more and more other creators out there that talk about the mind and how we could live a more, fulfilled and mostly peaceful life and existence for ourselves, especially in this day and age right now with what's going on. And I figured this would be a great person to bring on to my channel and have a little discussion with. So I wanted to give them the word right now, where he'll be introducing himself. So could you give us a little introduction about who you are?
Absolutely.
And what you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that all sounds good. And thank you for having me on. Well, my name is MaGustavo, and I've been on YouTube now for probably, a couple of years now. Just feeling my way through it. And speaking mostly on spirituality, but more specifically law of attraction stuff, subconscious mind psychology general, and metaphysics, quantum physics, unified physics. I really like that stuff. Had a huge spiritual awakening maybe 5-6 years ago, 2015, in the middle of studying at university, and decided to not go that route, completely shift it towards, I guess the biggest thing that came to me was assisting the planet in this huge awakening that's happening right now. So that's my work. That's what I do. I like to just be involved in those kinds of conversations, building my online coaching business, coaching platform right now, and the YouTube and the Instagram things. But yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Yes. Yeah, there are a couple of things that on the subject of health that I would definitely ask you a few questions about. You might have some idea about what it would be about concerning weight and stuff, but we'll get into that in a second. But you once asked me in private chats earlier, or not, a week ago or something, what brought me to your channel. And honestly, you know how you browse YouTube and you sometimes see a recommended video, show up from somebody else. And I saw your video show up. It had an interesting title because you have some wild titles. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking at your channel right now, and you have some very direct points to be made through the title itself. It's like the final law of attraction manifestation video you need to watch, stuff like that, where it was this guy is very passionate about what he does, and I like that because I've seen some other YouTubers that were perhaps smaller than me. I don't really like to compare or anything, but it's like you have these people that make videos, but then you kind of don't sense the passion, and they throw something out there and then they're gone forever, sadly. Maybe they weren't really doing their thing. But with you, what stuck out to me was that you were always there, consistently, always. As I was subscribed consistently, I saw videos. Now, for a while, you stopped, you took a break, but I do like that about you as a content creator. That's kind of the reason why I figured I should invite you over. Because of that, your passion, I guess it shines, man. I'm just saying, even I notice it. Or am I wrong on that? It's like,
Sweet.
You're not passionate about what you do? No, I hope not. That's not the case. But anyways, today I wanted to go over the subject of happiness. That's where I wanted to start. And that is mostly important in this day and age, or at least this current time, because I regularly get comments, whether it's through YouTube or in private through email or even chats that people might send me, is that they are having a lot of issues and struggles with dealing with the current situation on what's going on due to a pandemic. And I always wondered, what would another teacher, if you want to well, if you like to call yourself that, because sometimes I don't necessarily consider myself a teacher. It seems a heavy word, but what would you say as an someone that teaches and shares stuff about the mind, about how they could deal with this situation? Because they might say, like, I wake up and the news is constantly in my face, like it goes into the senses, right into their minds, and they are having issues with finding balance in this time for themselves. Do you have anything to say about that? How they could find happiness even in
Hmm.
this time?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that like popped into my mind there as you were saying the whole teacher thing, I think we're all teachers. I think we're all
Hmm.
students. And I
At the
think that
same time, yeah.
at the same time. And I think that as we clear away the ego aspect of ourselves, as we place it in the passenger seat, maybe we feel a little bit more comfortable being the teacher because we're also comfortable listening, being the student. So
Exactly.
you're a teacher. You're teaching me right now with what you share, with what you have, with your focus in life, and I'm listening. I'm the student. But then also my focus, my perspective. If you are willing to listen, you'll be the student too. So just that as like a bit of a side note kind of thing. That's like a
Leaders
mentality I like
leaders are
to.
intelligent followers at the same
Sure,
time.
always got to be learning. Always got to be taking things in. Um, Now I guess how can we like maintain a sense of happiness, or maybe just move ourselves a little bit beyond where we might be right now, like going through this pandemic. uh, I mean, it's such a vast subject, right? So
Hmm.
where to start, I don't know. But the first thing that came to me just intuitively, and like what came to me is, it's kind of like we have to begin our days when we wake up with something of gratitude.
Yeah.
Like what's going good right now? What's going good? Because if you go immediately to we're in the middle of a pandemic, your day's lost. Your day's
Yeah.
lost. So the first thing that jumped out at me is begin your days with gratitude. Begin with your days with something that you can be grateful for. Okay. So I guess if you can't do that, if you can't jump straight into gratitude, then maybe ask yourself why you can't jump straight into gratitude. Kind of sit with that for a little bit. I think that anytime someone wants to get to happiness or peace or joy or anything like that, it requires a self honesty. It requires like a shutting off of the world, tuning into one's own world and being like, what is it that's preventing me from just taking the basic requirement to happiness? And I think that the answer to that question, what is it that's stopping me from even getting to the basic requirements of happiness, will, I don't know, enable us to take that first step towards there,
Hmm.
maybe. So it's such a vast subject, right? But that's, I guess, that if I'm telling somebody, that would be it. To have a sense of like radical honesty with oneself. Get to that place.
Well, I can definitely relate to that with what I do in my own channel. And if people tell me this, that they are suffering in some way because of what's happening, they sometimes tell me, like, can't you see what's happening? This and that in the world. And I would literally say, like, I don't really pay that much attention to it in the sense of emotionally being involved with it, because shutting out the whole world like it doesn't happen, that's kind of like being stupid. But it's like being aware that it's happening, but also being in control of yourself to a certain extent where it doesn't influence your well being inwardly. And that's something that I think most people are perhaps missing, or at least they're discovering it as they're listening to your videos or my videos or anybody else's video on the mind. They're trying to relearn that, I think, in some way. Like, how can I actually be in control of myself, my own happiness, in spite of everything? So the main theme that I would usually share with people is about that. Would you agree with that? Where it's like, would would you accept? Would you agree with the premise that looking at the world the way it is, that is technically fine, but being emotionally sort of distant at the same time while staying in control of yourself, is that what you're getting at as well, or do you have some other idea about that whole thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime we're talking about this, it's vast. I don't know why I keep saying that, but because
It is really vast, of
oh,
course.
my goodness, like you can
There's so
approach this.
many elements as well.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. You can approach this thing from so many different ways, as I'm sure you're aware. Um, my whole thing is, you're right. Be aware. Have the awareness that things are happening in the world. We're a collective. We are all um, experiencing similar things. But the main core of my teaching, or my interest, my information that I have to share with the world is, we're each individually creating our experiences. And
Hmm.
from that place, dropping it into the collective. And thus, if you're vibrating, if you're creating an experience of abundance for yourself, then you are automatically creating an experience of abundance for everybody else. What do you focus on as an individual? What are you focused on? So I say, begin your day with gratitude. Why? Because gratitude is a thought. It's an emotion. It's a feeling space that sends reverberation through your body, connected to everything that implies, I have something in my life already that I love, or I have
Hmm.
something in my life already that's great. So if we're there and we're focused on that for a minute, just a minute, maybe even 15 seconds, whatever, as long as you want, as opposed to being focused on, oh my God, the world's going to shit, and panicking. So I think you said something along the lines of raising your awareness, becoming more aware.
Yeah, it's
And
what it sounds like is like getting yourself in harmony with the good that you actually desire, like getting yourself on that frequency inwardly through gratitude as well. Is how I interpret that. Maybe somebody else does it differently, but to me, I get why you would say like waking up with from a place of gratitude, also because it actually sort of helps you to like perceive the world from a much better angle from the start of your day than waking up and instantly tuning into the news like so many people do. And they might complain to me like, I feel so bad, like so worried, I'm going crazy with this. And I'm like, take a step back. Like, you could actually feel good in spite of that. But waking up with gratitude, I like that one. Yeah, maybe I should start saying that to people, like, just wake up with gratitude, or at least work on it. Maybe that
well,
helps them as well.
yeah, you mentioned in what you just said. You mentioned emotion, and
Yeah.
that's another aspect of the information that I carry and share with the world. But I think we need to understand that. How do we remain emotionally unattached to the things that are going on worldwide or in our community? And
Hmm.
to me, emotion is, if there's steps to the process, it's something that comes later, in the sense that if I'm practicing a thought, or I'm focused on something visually, which is a thought, like if I'm looking at a nice mansion, I go, oh, so big, or oh, I'd love to live in there, or whatever, right?
Hmm.
When we practice a thought for a long period of time, we generate a feeling or an emotion.
I like that. I like that.
So So if we're having an emotional response to something happening, it's because we've been thinking a certain thought, generating that frequency or generating that feeling about that situation. So that's our clue. Because typically you go, oh my God, there's a pandemic going on right now. We would call that, let's say, a trigger. You're getting a
Hmm.
physiological response, and by physiological I mean quite physical. The energy is moving through your body, through your nervous system, to every part of your body, and that would be the third part of the process. So thought becomes feeling, and feeling just takes over your body, very physically, physiologically. So that's a huge clue if you're looking to, let's say, reprogram your subconscious mind, reprogram your dominant beliefs, because you want to have, when you look at the pandemic, you want to have a belief attached to the pandemic that makes you feel great,
That's pretty wild. I like
right?
that.
Because it's the vibration that you're emanating, or you're sending out, that's then changing the world. First it changes your life subjectively, then it changes the world objectively, or it changes your world in a very personal sense, and then in a collective sense. It always begins at home. It's
Yeah.
always it's like this feed forward, feedback loop, always happening kind of thing, coming into us and then out and back in. So yeah, that's how you stay emotionally away from it. You have to change the belief that's creating the negative trigger out there into a belief and a thought form and base of this pandemic is like, I mean, you can pick so many different avenues for it, right? Like you can, I mean, the thing that just popped up in my head is this pandemic is way better than World War III,
That's
right?
very true.
Or
I will assume that's true.
right, and that instantly is like it puts things into perspective. Like, wait, so if there was a collective event to happen, this one's way better than World War III. Or you could say, you know what, this pandemic is really giving me an opportunity to just pull back from all my relationships, from all of my crazy habits that I had, to be able to kind of just relax. Like, damn, haven't I for like the past 10 years been wanting a chill pill? Like, I know a lot of people are now working from home instead of having to go into their office every day. And that's another belief. That's another thought base that feels a little bit better than, oh my God, there's a pandemic happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the point you made about, well, feeling about in a feeling about this pandemic in a positive way, because I think that's also where the issue lies, is that most people only see the negative, and then they spiral sort of in that direction, and then they wonder, why does life feel so freaking horrible right now? When it's like, if you could just roll it back a bit and just observe things the way they are without judging it as well, you might find a way to kind of use it to your advantage. Find some peace, as you said. Taking a step back is something I talked about months ago. Back in March, or April, I made a video about this when the pandemic sort of started globally, where I said, you could see this as a time to reflect on your purpose in life instead of panicking that your whole life is going to be over. There's going to be hard times probably for many people, indeed, with work and stuff, but it doesn't have to mean it's going to be the end of your life. And I think it's that skill to be able to sort of, at least mentally, take a step back, indeed, instead of flying along with it, with everything that's being thrown at you by, well, the news in this case or whatever. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
about the conspiracy or anything, but there's a lot of theories about everything out there. But I really like that answer, because I think that's exactly what people should keep in mind, especially in this current time,
Yeah.
as we're making this video. Because,
Mm-hmm.
if we ever make a future video, it's probably a different sort of concept, hopefully. It's not filtered through the pandemic style. But for now, I think that's a good answer to let people know. So
You
we'll
brought up
move on.
something there. You brought up something there that I just want to add something to, and that is non-judgment. You don't want to judge, right?
Hmm.
You want to be the witness of things happening,
Yeah,
and then in that place of greater perspective, you want to choose that which feels the best to you
exactly. Yeah.
as the creator. Yeah, but that's very powerful. That's very fine-tuned. That's a lot of discernment. And I think that the basis of it is raising your awareness, raising your level of consciousness, becoming more attuned to the present moment, being right here, right now, as often as possible. But that's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of my life in general, because as I was growing up, I was always very spiritually aware, it seems, and intuitively aware. Where even as a teenager, people might find it odd that I don't judge necessarily at all. Like, I'm just observing it. In fact, my dad would say you're like more of an observer. Like, you don't even step in and like, hey, that's wrong, that's so bad, evil, like, go crazy. I'm just like, huh, it's interesting that it's happening. Like, what could I learn from this? Like, I automatically would do that myself. So maybe that's just like a born skill for me, but it's something that I feel like humans could probably benefit from. Not gonna lie, it's like, it's useful.
Yeah, well, I mean, depending on which view you subscribe to, if you want to, um, light workers, star seeds, uh, um, intuitives, empaths. Why are we here on planet Earth right now? Because we naturally do this. because this is the evolution into the fifth dimension of consciousness, and we're here to assist others to kind of, on an energetic level, allow them to slowly tune themselves into this perspective. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, with that being said about happiness, the second subject I wanted to talk about is health, and it's because I don't remember where I saw it, but I think I heard you say it in a video. It's been a while ago, but you were talking about losing 100 pounds or something. Like you were very overweight, and I always wondered, was that one of those catalysts for you to also start talking about the mind, or not? Because I mean, there's many people struggling with weight. I suppose I never had it myself necessarily, where it's like, well, 100 pounds overweight or anything. But could you like tell your story about that? Like, what exactly happened in your life
Mm,
concerning this, and how did you go about it as well? Because you like
mm,
to preach about it, I think, where it's like, people who are having issues with this, they can learn how to perhaps help themselves in that area.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so similar to what you said, I've always kind of had a more spiritual approach. I've always been more of an observer. And growing up, if you have that, I think if you have that kind of approach, and the environment that you grow up in isn't understanding of that, it can be very harsh. So my
Hmm.
environment was very harsh, because I would witness things, I would observe things going around me that seemed extremely hypocritical. Like, do this, and then throughout the week, it's not being followed at all. So I would go to church on Sundays. I would learn about Jesus, and then, do no harm to your neighbor, or do unto others what you would like to be done. Treat everyone as you like to be treated. That's always like my main thing. And then throughout the week, it's like, no, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we coming here for 4 hours every Sunday? What is this show that we're all putting on? I think that was like the biggest thing that kind of got me to go into a shell throughout
Hmm.
my early life. And in that shell, it was probably wanting to stay to myself, wanting to stay mostly locked up in my own room, kind of thing, just doing my own thing. And so, when you don't get that much exercise, and when you're using food as a comfort kind of thing, it's easy to add weight. So I think that I shielded myself big time from all of a lot of the energies going on around me, and so that's a big reason why I gained so much. But growing up, one of the main benefits, one of the things that I think I carried with me very strongly is this: let everybody do their own thing. Don't judge anybody. Let everybody do their own thing, and you kind of just wait for your time. Because on one side of my parenting, there was very, very controlling. Do this, do this, do this, do this. If you don't do it, consequences. On the other side of my parenting, it was complete unattachment, like complete nothing. So it was like, just wait for your moment in order to really go out, I guess. So when I was like 16 years old, my parents got divorced. And I was left with the side of my family, or my parents, that was more disconnected. So now I had the freedom to take this idea of doing what I most love and enjoy, or following my vision, totally onto my own hands. Because before, when I had that controlling aspect, it wasn't that possible. It was, no, you're not allowed to go do that. Even if you want to, even if you want to try and experiment it, you're not allowed to do that. So when my parents got divorced, it's like the floodgates opened for me to go towards my vision, or towards the things that really brought passion and life out of me.
Hmm.
So then I was able to. And this law of attraction thing, it's beautiful. When you practice what you love, when you do what you're passionate about, the entire universe conspires to make your best interest happen, to assist you in becoming your greatest version. So I think maybe when I was like 18, couple of years, 18, 19, couple of years after my parents got divorced, and I'd been kind of allowed to do my own thing, a friend of mine, he pretty much said, and I paraphrase, but pretty much direct quote, "You're fat as hell. We're losing weight this summer." Then he grabbed me and he took me out to the gym, and That was the beginning of my weight loss. I think I lost like 30 to 40 pounds that summer. Just I jumped into that with him, and I think I did a little bit of research of what I should be eating because I wasn't educated on it at all. But all of this was kind of like I attracted the circumstance that grabbed me and took me to the gym, but I also attracted like the energy to move towards educating myself on the nutrition aspect. So it's pretty, yeah. Is that what you were
That's
asking pretty
that's a
much?
that's a wild story. Yeah, it's something that I've heard from other people as well. How that can come about, where you sort of have circumstances happen and somebody shows up that are going to help you move in that direction.
Mm,
Your past though is very interesting for the fact that I think many people share a similar situation in general as well, where like because I've never had the issue of again of weight in this sense or with health issues on that level. But many people indeed, when you say like you turn into yourself and then you, it's kind of like energy starts to add up within you, but it also shows up physically, literally, if you don't watch out, especially if you start eating a lot. So the question then that I have for you is like, if you were to advise someone that wants to lose weight, what would you tell them based on your own personal experience?
mm,
Do you have any words of advice for them?
mm-hmm. Well, it's like when my parents got divorced, it was like the universe stepped in
Mm-hmm.
and said, you know, I shifted into a parallel reality in which I was able to become my greatest version, practicing my highest vibration, doing what I love. That was, the result was my parents getting divorced.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I guess the advice saying hey, your parents have to get divorced, then you can lose weight is probably a little harsh.
no,
I
but
mean,
if I go
in
a little
your
bit
case, it
deeper,
happened. Yeah.
right, but if I go a little bit deeper, as I continue, um, the general idea there is sometimes there are certain circumstances in our lives that we allow to remain in our lives that don't allow us to move forward,
Mm,
like they're taking away all our energy. In my case, you could kind of say, well, I couldn't control it
yeah.
because who am I to control the divorcing of my parents? But that's not true because I am the creator of my reality. So if I say divorce, divorce, because there's a parallel reality out there in which they're still together. There are infinite parallel realities that exist in this infinite universe.
That's pretty deep. It actually made me think suddenly about the idea of divorcing your old self in that sense as well for you, where it's like, I'm no longer going to be fitting into that pattern of living that I used to be in. I'm going to embrace something new. And I think perhaps that could actually help people as well with their weight journey in general. It's
Well,
like,
I think, yeah. I mean, I think the important thing is to correlate each person's story, each person's experience of life, because it's not necessarily the same as far as the physical manifestation, but the
yeah,
energetic manifestation is the same. The energy of maybe having, in my case, guardianship that maybe didn't allow me to express myself as much as I wanted to. That energy can be portrayed in a relationship that someone has with somebody else where they're domineering, um, a job that somebody has in which the job is domineering them. The way it manifests is completely different. But I'll also add that, growing up, I grew up with a lot of people who listened to a specific genre of music. And when I turned 13, I became aware of a different genre of music. Actually, not really, but I would always do my own thing. I would always follow my own path. I always listened to a different genre of music than the people around me. And it's interesting because one of my teachings and one of the things that I share is you have to do what you're urging to do. So it's kind of like I intuitively knew you don't need to fit in with everybody who's listening to this type of music if you don't like it. You go do
mhm.
your thing. So I think that and for me, music is huge. Music instantly gets me into the vibration of abundance if I need to. Just put it on, boom, I'm there. Passionate, abundant, out of this mind kind of thing. So, I mean, so when it comes to anyone who may be watching this right now, it's where are you giving your power away? And do you think that the situation that, if you're consciously aware enough to be able to do this, do you think that the situation is uncontrollable? It's never uncontrollable. We have all the power. You have all the power to shift the way you're thinking about the situation. So like when it happened to me, I was younger. So I can't say that when I was 13 or 16, I was having these deep thoughts. I wasn't totally aware that, wow, I want to shift into a parallel reality in which I have freedom. But the beginning of raising our level of conscious awareness is go your own way, do your own passionate thing, irrelevant of what everyone around you is saying you should do. At least that's how I did it. So I think that could correlate for everybody.
Yeah, it just sounds like discovering your own individuality inside of this universe as well, where you can learn, like become aware that you can decide on things and how they're going to be for you. I think it's beautiful. But we'll stop it there because I think your answer was actually really good, and I don't want to waste any time on it with other points on it. Because the next subject I wanted to talk about was wealth, which is all about, well, it could mean many things for people. Being wealthy, it's either financially, usually, or in things that they want physically speaking. Have you, I don't know if you've noticed this yourself in your work, but many people right now are, for example, struggling as well financially for the most part. Again, perhaps due to the pandemic. Do you have any like things that come to mind from your point of view where you would like, if you're struggling right now financially, what would be your message of hope for them, or at least perhaps of inspiration?
Yeah, change your belief systems around money.
Okay, that's the end. Bye.
Exactly. Change the way you think about money, and then
Okay.
your physical reality will shift accordingly.
Okay, yeah, because in my case, what I sometimes have is people that admit to me, like, I don't like my job, for example, or I have issues with my job. And then I do explain to them, like, you can focus on that job and stay stuck there, or you can focus on what sort of job or career you would like instead and grow there. Do you ever have that so far with your own subscribers, for example, where they might reach out to you about this sort of thing? Because I think it's a really global issue for people that they're stuck in, well, in a job, in work that they feel like they have to do. And I know, again, it's obviously not really true that they have to stay there, but have you ever had that people contact you in that manner, and then your answer would be to change their beliefs? Or is there a little bit more to that for you?
Well, again, very vast. My mind just went into like the 15 different directions with that question. Um,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. That's okay. But like, I mean, it's individual basis. It's where you at as an individual. If I'm going to be coaching somebody one on one, in a broader sense, you have to change your belief systems around money. You have to change your belief systems in general, and the fastest way, let's say, for a human being to change their belief systems is type on Google how to get into the present moment, and just do that.
That's where all the
Throw
power lies.
throw everything else away and just do that on your free time. And when you're at your job, when you're at work, try to do it as often as possible there. But that's your, don't come home, get drunk, get high, watch Simpsons, get into the present moment. Get into the present moment, because that's the fastest way. So what can I say? You might have a follow-up question to that as someone in a one-on-one session, but what would your follow-up to that be?
Well, when I talk to people about money, I usually give them a brief overview based on what I've experienced so far with making money online, for example, where I know I have the freedom to generate it whenever I want, however I want. Well, not entirely, however, I do have to work in some guidelines. So I tell people usually, like, from my point of view, the trick is to learn to create, to learn to be a creator based on what you're passionate about and share that with humanity. So I'm not necessarily telling them change your belief system, but it's probably a change in their belief system without me even realizing it once they do that.
Yeah.
So that would be sort of my point of view on wealth creation, because I see that many people have talents and passions and abilities, but they actually, now that I'm gonna say this, but they believe they can't do anything with it. So there, yeah, it's like their
That's one of
belief that
them.
keeps them stuck. Yeah, one
Hmm.
of them. Yeah, it's actually a major one as far as I've seen personally. Maybe
Yeah.
it's different for you, but I think many people do have a talent and a passion that they could actually do something with in this physical lifetime of theirs on this planet. But
Absolutely.
due to how they're being raised, they're not really trained to actually look at it and admit it or do something with it. But again,
Yeah.
actually, it makes a lot of sense to change your belief about actually working with it for yourself. Instead of saying, I
Yeah.
can't do this, I don't believe I can, bye.
Yeah. I
That's usually
mean,
how it goes.
yeah, like if you want to get there fast, hire a coach, hire a teacher, hire somebody who's been doing it for 5 to 10 years, someone who's a little bit further on the path than you are, maybe a year or two into it, because that person's just going to fast forward you. Because you can do all this stuff on yourself, on your own as an individual, but are you going to be able to remain accountable to do it on a consistent, daily, habitual basis, which is what is required in this life?
Yeah.
Probably not. But a coach
As a
is going to keep you
student, yeah.
accountable. A coach is going to keep you accountable, right? A coach is going to give you that weekly reminder of, so did you do it? Did you stay on task? Were you getting it done? And it gives you an opportunity to come back to it, because without a coach, you might come back to it 3 months later or whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest thing. Get a coach. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. The more money you invest in yourself, the more it grows in the future. Plain and simple. Especially if you go to somebody who is a financial mindset coach, because their thing is going to be, well, what are the most common beliefs that people have around money? Okay, well, one of them is money is evil, right? Evil, you have to do evil things to make money, let's say, whatever.
Yeah.
Or I don't believe that I'm worthy of making more money, or I don't believe that I have anything to offer that can make money. And these are all just beliefs. And at the end of the day, we live in an infinite universe with infinite parallel realities. And each parallel reality coincides and correlates with a belief system that we carry. So once we shift the belief system that we have, the parallel reality shifts. How do we become aware of the belief systems we have? Get present. The more present you become to the present moment means the more aware you are of the thoughts going through your mind. When you
Yeah.
begin to become aware of the thoughts going through your mind, you go, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. I've been having that thought so much. What does that mean? It's very ingrained as a belief in my mind. Oh, I've been having that thought and that thought and that thought. Oh my God, they make me feel the same. Wow. These are all thoughts based in lack, based in limitation. Oh, wow, wow. So present moment, become aware of thoughts, What do I prefer? What thought feels better to me? What thought do I think is better? Play with it, experiment. Life is always happening. It's not do or die. It's not black and white. It's gray. Just play with it. Come to come to an agreement with yourself on, that's the thought I want to go with. Then enforce that thought, enforce that thought, enforce that thought. It becomes your new belief system. You shift into that parallel reality. And then let go. Let go. Be unattached, right? To what was, because the universe is trying to bring in what will be, or what now is on your new energetic frequency, which is becoming, in a sense, your new physical. How do you let go? Get into the present moment.
This makes me very
Get
excited to
present.
even. It makes me very exciting to listen to you about that, because I recognize that that is exactly what I did over the years, but I never really zoomed in on. Oh, I changed my beliefs about it, but it is exactly what you said as well, that I would become more and more aware of what am I thinking in this moment, and then also realizing I can shift it. I actually have the ability to change that around, and then becoming aware of that, start to play a bit with it over the years in my case, and then
Mm-hmm.
you start to notice some real changes in your whole way of thinking and ideas and the whole
Mm-hmm.
direction that I'm like walking towards physically, that I can measure it. Like there's some great stuff happening for me personally, but that's what we want to share with our viewers, that they can have the same.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'm definitely gonna remember that. I might have to be using that in the future with someone to just instead of me saying I'll learn to create and this and that, but like, what is your belief system right now? Have you ever paid attention to it?
Well,
It
it's
is
very
actually,
meta. It's very metaphysical. It's very quantum to go to
yeah,
that level. Because what you're talking about is extremely valid as well. Except you're talking about it on a very physical level, on a very
yeah,
day-to-day level. So when you change your belief systems being thoughts, unseen, non-physical, metaphysical, quantum
hmm,
level, then you're changing the physical. So what that means is your past belief was generating a reality in which you are just a consumer. Your new beliefs are generating a physical reality in which you are a creator. So as you shift your beliefs from lack, from limitation to abundance, your new parallel realities give you the version of the person who begins to create more. And your life just becomes constant creations. And you find joy in that. Right? And it's a self-fulfilling kind of thing, and it just keeps going. So you're totally right. If a person goes straight to just creating more instead of consuming, they're going to generate more money. But the problem is they could listen to you do that. They could do it for a little bit, but it might not stick
yeah,
because
exactly, yeah, oh yeah,
underneath, at the
definitely,
core, at the root, what is it? What's there? Well, beliefs based in limitation. So we
yeah. I
want
think that,
ease, right? We want ease. We want it to be a constant flow where it's easy, not where, oh my God, I need to struggle to create things. And oh my
mhm.
God, why did it fail? It's, I'm not struggling to create things because I'm in tune with my environment. I'm in tune with my heart, with what I want to create. Okay. And because that's the case, it's easy. So I put in the work, and the work is, let's say it takes effort, it's hard, but I'm not hating myself to do it because the reason I'm doing it is because I'm happy about it or it's genuine for me and not, I'm just trying to create things to make money. So
Hmm.
that's why it's easy. That's why it's flowy. And I think that from my point of view, that's exactly where we want to be in general with all things in life.
Yeah, it actually taught me something is the fact that when I work with people in private or even with my friends, I can tell them exactly what I just told you, and then they tell me about their doubts and worries or perhaps even frustrations on this whole process of creation. But then I guess intuitively or in the moment at that time, I'm actually helping them shift their whole perspective on the matter. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to create, I have to create. But I can see that maybe with some of my videos, some people might feel like, oh, I have to start creating like crazy. And then they perhaps are sort of not in alignment with it yet, inwardly on their beliefs themselves within their own minds. I think that's my, well, it's probably going to be my struggle with my videos because I go pretty deep and wild. Like, I'm like, this is it, guys. This is what I know from experience. Like, this works for me. I see it with my friends, but then I also admit, okay, but it's true that I can talk with them more in depth about this instead of with a viewer that is just listening to my advice. But I will definitely gonna go over that belief aspect in my own way because, as you said, as a meta thing, it's kind of interesting. Now that you brought it up, I'm not, like, my whole mind is like, oh, okay, yeah, I think that's what happened with me, but I never really stopped and stand still, like, oh, I changed my belief system. But I think that's definitely true. Yeah, based on what I described earlier, it's like, yeah, I have to admit it's about that belief, isn't it? Instead of sitting around like I can't do this, I believe I can't. Like, hmm, is that really true? Not really, not for me, but for most people, they might be stuck right there, right in that thing. That's beautiful. So thank you for your answer. Those were actually the three subjects I wanted to discuss. We got a really hard storm going on out there. You don't really hear it, I think, but the Netherlands is autumn right now, or fall, as you would say. It seems sunny over there at your place. I don't know if that's true or if that's just a lamp, but
We're getting, so over here, if you see light coming in, this is my window. We're getting
mhm.
sunshine. It's
Yeah.
the final few days of summer, because we're also in fall. We're also in autumn. But
Over
I do have lighting. So
over it's overcast for 7 days straight rain. The Netherlands, right? You had a friend over here or something? Like, this is a rainy place, man. Like, I can confirm if they didn't tell you, like I can confirm it's rainy over here. Another thing I wanted to point out though is that in 2019, when I did my interview with this other YouTuber, what happened when I recorded it was that I looked at the recording afterwards and it got way out of sync, like the face and text, the voice, face and text. I uploaded it like that, being really dumb back then with as a tiny channel, not really paying attention to what I was doing. So if that is going to happen to our recording, it's going to be a narration. So that way you know, like, okay, it's not that I didn't like your face on video or something. It's like I had to change it around in case that happens. If not, I'll just post it like this. I'll edit it a bit here, the stuff, but then you know.
Yeah, go with the flow.
Exactly. That's what I'll do this time. Hopefully the flow is nice. Otherwise viewers are like, hey, everything's out of sync. It's so annoying to watch, dude. It's like, sorry.
Yeah, I think there's a good flow, really good flow in this conversation.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I'm honestly a little awkward about it, if I'm going to be really honest, because I am usually so focused on making my own content. But I do feel there's some value into bringing others on my channel as well that talk about the mind. So it's not just about what I think works, but also give my viewers an opportunity to hear, like, hey, what do other teachers actually suggest and say? And then we can all learn something new, hopefully. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what it's all about, to raise that level of awareness, expand it, become greater versions of ourselves. That's what I also say to my own viewers. It's like expansion and full expression of who we are. And in
Mm-hmm.
order to do so, we do need some help and advice here and there,
Yeah,
some guidance.
for sure. We are all we're all in this together, right? We're all connected through the same field. So again, teacher-student thing. That's why just being as open as possible to take in. Um, but if like I guess we're closing up here. Try to see life more in an interconnected sense. So when we think about subjects like happiness, wealth, relationships, health, life, just see it interconnected. Try not to compartmentalize with the mind. So do what you're passionate about. Be aware of the things that don't make you feel good, and you're not responsible for those things. You're just responsible for keeping your own vibration, your own feeling state high. Each person individually is responsible for that. And
Mhm.
when we do that, life sorts itself out. Life just flows through that frequency. So this is how we take the weight off our shoulders. Because a lot of the time we think we need to be worried about finance, we need to be worried about happiness, we need to be worried about health, we need to be worried about we don't have to worry about anything except for our vibration, for how we feel. Are we genuinely feeling good? Does our body feel good? No? Why? Figure that out. Get it to feel good, because then that'll just emanate out of you, and then every area of your life will filter around that with that new vibration, with that new energy.
That's incredibly beautiful. Something I will remember myself. I like to remind of myself that in general, but it's always nice to hear it from somebody else, you know what I mean? Now you're my teacher for a second, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna work on that as well this weekend, or at least this Sunday, because it's already, yeah, it's like midnight almost over here, so it's late over here. Gotta probably pass out in a bit, and then I'm gonna put this video up on Sunday. That's what I plan on. I'll send you a text about it when it's up, and then you can check it out if you want. And if you would leave a comment, then others of my viewers can see, hey, it's that guy. So
This is
it's
a
like,
real
okay,
person.
yeah, it's not like a Google bot AI
A very
system.
sophisticated robot
Exactly right. You never know these days. So
these
watch out.
days.
Watch your back, man. There's robots out there.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right, so I'm gonna end the video here. Like I always say on my channel, it's like this is the end of the video. So as always, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.